my name is Lo, and I'm ready to go. I got my girl Wynn too, and we're waiting for you two friends sharing God's words in our lives. The ups, the downs, the stripes, the strives. Be sure to listen in, and you'll soon see that we're quirky and we're awkward, and we love coffee. So grab a mug, some snacks, and some tissues as we dig in and explore our issues on Watch the Podcast. Watch the podcast. Watch the podcast. Watch the podcast. All right, well, guys, thanks for tuning into another episode of Watch the Podcast. It's Lorin.
And I'm Wynn.
And this week, hopefully, we're not as depressing as last week.
Let's just say we just heard episode 2, and I may have almost ate a whole bag of M&Ms.
Wynn had another margarita, too.
I may have had another margarita. Luckily, I found this day-old water on my desk as we've been prepping for this episode. And, and I'm feeling real good now. How you feeling, Lauren?
I'm great. I'm enjoying my time indoors, being creative over here.
Yeah? What's the most creative thing that you've done so far?
Outside of make this podcast?
Yep.
Nothing.
I asked that, and I feel you. Last night my church was doing like a Facebook Live, and shout out to Pastor Marcus, we love you. But he was asking like, what are some things that you guys have done? What are you doing during this downtime? And people are typing in like great answers. I spending time with family, eating dinner together, teaching my kids how to change a tire. I haven't done any of that. Like zero. Like I've had the only self-reflection I've had is like I need to do better, not that I'm doing better. So I feel you.
I take that back. I have started redesigning my website.
Ooh.
I am working with a digital creator to redo my logo for my company. I'm working with my homegirls on a new product that we're bringing to market soon. So I take that back. You just can't ask me on the spot, but I have been creative and I've been playing Rock Band. That's bad.
So thank you for being amazing, Lauren. I'm going to go back to my answer. I've done nothing. Like nothing other than just
I can't help you there, sis.
Self-reflecting there. So thank you, Lauren, for that. I'm about to eat the rest of this in the bag.
Well, guys, so we hope that you guys enjoyed kind of hearing some of our downs from episode 2. And so this week we kind of wanted to take some time and just do some follow-up. We're going to kind of go back and forth with some questions just to see how we are using our failures, and we're using them to set us up to kind of work on being successful. We named the episode Watch Us Deal because we feel like we're still dealing with a lot of the things that we talked about last week. And we're not really at a place where we're confident to say that, we are thriving and we are the best of the best and we're successful. It's more like, we're dealing with it and we're processing it. And we just kind of want to talk about that, give some strategies and give you guys our input on what we're doing now. Let's do it. I guess I'll go first. All right, Wynn. So last week you talked about the fact that you kind of was like, you were controlled in your relationship. So how do you handle that feeling of letting people control you now in your relationship? I know you're recently, I keep saying recently, Alan is old. Y'all have been married now.
3 years. We're still pretty new.
3 years in the game. So how are you handling this relationship differently than the last?
So it's hard to say that, how do I handle relationships now? How do I not be controlled? And I have an imperfect answer because I see the signs of entering relationships, whether it's through work or just personal. There are some signs, there's some tendencies that I end up following into. I'm so fortunate now and just blessed that I have Alan in my life. So that's not a relationship that I fall into where I feel controlled. Alan has just kind of let me be who I am and respects and loves me for just who I am. But not every relationship isn't like that. And again, I've mentioned this before that some of the things I do is self-inflicted and some of it is just from what others inflict. And sometimes it's a combination of both. And so that control of really what's different is one, I would say the one thing that really helps me get through when I start either entering a situation like that or putting myself, self-inflicted, put myself in a situation like that, is I'm surrounded by some really strong women who help me get through that. And Lorin can tell you, I will text or call her. I'd even say sometimes my mom. I'll reach out to my mom just to kind of push through that. My friend Katharina. I mean, having those relationships to like recognize the signs of like, this doesn't feel right, and then really referencing back to those people who will tell you what's real and what's not, and maybe some suggestions of how to get through it. And so that I would say that's a little bit different than what I had before, either because I was scared to reach out or I just didn't want to burden anyone else. And so I'm less scared to reach out to Lorna. She's going to tell me I'm stupid and here's what I should do. But now I just appreciate it. And so it's not that I am like bulletproof in this, because I see it sometimes pop up in some of the relationships I've been over the last 5 years. But I'm so thankful for that stronghold I have in my life with the relationships that I have and to those biblical principles that I relate back to. So it's not perfect, but I would say that's really my reality check that I get to have and where I go to first, and not really downplaying what's going on or saying that, I don't want to burden someone or I don't want someone to know that this is affecting me. I must be so weak, where now I expose, I guess, my weaknesses a little bit more than I did before.
Check you out.
So that's hard to put in words. And Lorin, the question I'm about to ask you is probably just as hard for you to answer. Going back to some of the Q&A, one of the things that you brought up with was your relationship. And so how did your relationships with family and friends change after you eloped?
I think that a lot happened. The biggest, I won't call it a regret, because I think that everything happens for a reason. But I think the biggest change is with how I view my friendships, because at that stage in my life, I was just like, oh, it's me against the world. Like, it don't matter what anybody else is doing. But I don't think that I know that isn't true, right? I think friends, family, opinions are important, and like whether or not you choose to do what they tell you to do, or, it's still important to hear what they have to say and to take their feelings into consideration. So I definitely live my life very differently than I did back then. And I do respect and cherish the people in my life. I lost a couple of friends because I eloped. And, I think it still hurts me to this day. I mean, I don't reflect on it often, or like it doesn't make me depressed as much as it used to. But like if I think back every once in a while, it does still hurt that there are some people that will never be in my life or be in my life the same way. But I think the most noteworthy thing out of eloping is that, or at least like the whole divorce thing in general, is that my relationship with my mom is like substantially different. And I'm so thankful for that. I don't think that we would have been this close had that not have happened. Because like I said last week, I had this false pretense about who I thought she was and the decisions that I wanted to make because of the way I thought she lived her life. And then just going through the marriage and the divorce, we got to connect on a completely different level. And now, I try not to go a week or two without talking to her, and like all of my major life decisions, like I call her for, we're texting. And it's really cool to kind of see that relationship flourish for me, because I didn't think that I would ever have that with my mom. So I'm kind of thankful for that, but real hit and miss, I did take a lot of loss in that, but here to tell the tale and making different decisions now. So that's what's important.
All right.
Wow. I don't think we thought through these questions, Wynn. These are tough. Wow. Okay. So Wynn, how did you make decisions differently when you started to date Alan?
It's funny, even dating Alan, he can tell you this story too. Like, I was not interested in dating. I was newly divorced. I even told him too, like, I think I even said that in the beginning, like, listen, I'm not dating you. Like, I was just blunt. Like, I think I bent over backwards so many times in my previous relationship that Alan really got like this black and white Wynn. Like, listen, we're not dating. Like, we're not going on a date. If you want to come over, you can put together my child's trampoline. And that was our first time ever hanging out. He came over
Wow.
to put over
Ladies,
a trampoline.
that is how you do it. You get them to do a service for you. That is what you got.
Yeah, I was just really not that I was uninterested, because obviously, like, I was attracted to Alan, I thought he was cute, but I'm like, I'm not playing this game of I go over above and beyond to just feel like completely nothing in the end. And so Alan probably met me in the bitter time. But what's beautiful about our relationship is, like, he didn't really care about any of that. He just cared about me. And so when you find, like, that one that you're supposed to be, it doesn't matter if you are, like, in a bad mood or a great mood, or you're bending over backwards, like, they just love you for who you are. And I would say Alan is very good at that, in loving me and respecting my journey. He's also older than me. We're 11 years apart, so I don't know if that's made a difference. But I would say that he's just cared about me in the beginning. And so it wasn't so much about me having to impress, because he met me in a time I was not looking to impress anybody. Like I said, uninterested in dating. But it's always funny, the plan that you think that you have for your life, God sure will change things up and make it a lot more interesting in the way that you would do it. And so, like, Alan is, my soulmate, my person to do life with. And I'm thankful for the journey that we've had, because I started in a bitter place, and then now I'm at a place where, like, I recognize the things that I have too much to lose if I don't respect myself in this life, in this moment, in my 30s, in my 40s, and so on. And that he's going to go on this journey with me to figure that out.
That's so cute.
All right, Lorin. Blah. Wow. Okay. Wow. So here's a happy story we had, and Lorin, wah, wah, wah. How did being in an unfaithful relationship impact your mindset? And then how from that do you look at dating now?
Wow. Yeah, I think there's a long time where I didn't trust people. And there's this season of my life where I was making some real interesting decisions and choices, because I was like, I don't trust people. So I'm just going to use them, or I'm just going to, like, be this shell of an individual, and I'm not going to put any emotion or thought into anything, because people don't deserve that, because all they're going to do is, like, be unfaithful. And I don't know, Wynn, maybe you should answer this question, because I don't even remember 21 to 25, because I was just, like, so depressed. I feel like I just was existing, So it really took a big toll on just me as a person, and I'm sure my relationships, and I'm pretty sure, like, my friends can tell more than I can, because it's like a dark pit for me. I can't even remember. As far as dating now, I'm not really the dating, like, I don't date often. I've been out on some dates and I'm open to dating, but I think, like I said last week, I just feel like I'm in this season of singleness, and we got a lot of stuff I'm working on. And so at this point, the way that I look at it is that my worth and, like, what I'm looking for is not so much dependent on the man. It's like, okay, this is what I'm doing and this is who I am. And if you're okay with that, and if you want to stick around for that, then cool, come through. And then for me, it's like, okay, this is what you got going on. This is where you at. Do I feel like I am okay with that, accepting you as who you are? Okay, cool, I'll stick around. I think I've modeled my new dating life after you and Alan.
Well, you had that part of Wynn probably can speak it better, and I'm going to give, like, a fast forward version of
Lord,
post-divorce. So Lorin had nothing to do with anyone. Then she had, like, a weird Tinder phase, and then now she's like, I think I'm just going to do me. So that's very abbreviated. I probably just covered, like, the last 8 to 10 years, but yeah, I would say you had a blip of crazy, and then now, like, I'm proud of you, because yeah, it's just like, not to be like, it's sometimes hard to speak highly of ourselves, but because you and I both enter a place of really beating ourselves up, but, like, we're worthy.
Yeah, for sure.
This moment.
Wait.
And worthy of love, but we haven't always been there.
Don't get it twisted. I was not a hoe. Like,
Oh, no. But you were out there, like, doing your thing. Hey, if I date, not a big deal.
Hey.
Let me figure this out. Where now you're like, whatever, if it happens, I'm not like, it's not like I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't even say it's on your top 10 priorities.
It was
Where
like
before,
number
like,
one or two. Yeah, I think.
it's gone.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Now,
I think I felt like I had to have somebody to validate the fact that I had been cheated on. Thank the Lord for growth. All right, question number 3.
why aren't we drinking on this episode? That's the real question.
Who wrote these
Dang,
questions?
here we go.
So when mindset, so you had this feeling of that you had been left, and you said like that your ex like has left before but will come back, and then he left, and you just felt that you had been left. So do you still feel that way? What have you done to, I guess, get away from that feeling of like lost or being left with your 3 kids and out here in these streets?
I mentioned this earlier just in a conversation with Lauren. Like I'm about to say it's so simple, but it's so hard. And it's just having the mindset that you are enough, right? That's just like one small sentence. And you just have to get to a point where you believe it, because I felt for so long that like, what kind of person am I that I'm like, I was physically left like indefinite. My kids and I were left indefinite. And so is that a reflection of us? And I thought it was, especially in the very beginning. But when you change that mindset, again, I would say Lauren and I go to a place of like, we bear the burden ourselves. And so before we point the blame, we're going to take it internally, and just having that reflection of, wait a minute, why? And ask yourself, why do you believe the things that you do? And you can spend a long time here, especially if you're me, that there are things that you believe that are untrue. And so one of them was, I must be so unworthy because someone left me. And I felt like in that relationship, I did everything that I could to make that not happen. And I was still left. And not just in my first marriage, but just other relationships too. My parents were divorced. You have that moment like, why did that parent leave? Or why did that parent become a stray? I mean, there's also, been friend relationships too. Like, we were so close. Why are we not close today? What did I do? But I focus probably more now on it being a journey and a process. Like, it still hurts. Like, so my first marriage, I even talk about this with Alan. Like, it's not like, whoa, so glad that's over with. Like, I am, but there's still a pain there that's like, it's never going to go away. It hurts maybe a little bit less, but there's still like this hole that's a part of me that I'll never fill up. However, I recognize the signs, that mindset of what I had, and then those reinforcements of friends and family and, having my walk with God that really pushed me through to kind of get me out of that. So it's as simple as saying I'm worthy, and I'm not the cause of why I was left. However, it's just as hard, especially when you've had that mindset for so long. So it's, again, been a journey. It's not perfect. It still pops up, but it's as easy and as hard as just believing the opposite.
So I guess like what things bring you back up, right? Like as much as you tell yourself, hey, I'm worthy, or as much as you say, I am enough, we still get in those dark spaces where we're afraid to pick up the phone, or we'll go weeks without like telling anybody that we're down or whatever. Like, so what things have you done to bring yourself back up when you find yourself getting really low?
I question. I question other people. I might as well spend a moment in questioning myself, of when I hear that voice in my head that's going over and over and over. I'll just test it out. Like, if it's like, you're not enough, or I can't believe you did that, I'll just casually mention it to Alan, or I'll send something to, like, a text to Lauren, like, what do you think about this? And Lauren will be like, what the crap are you talking about? Like, it's so like ludicrous. I'm like, all right, thank you for letting me know. And then Lauren will be like, what are you talking about? And so then I have to give the 49-page spill of what that little small question was. But again, having those reinforcements of people to bring you back. Of course, it's my husband. Of course, it's my close friends. Just like I need that in my life. And then two, I like to like just put it to the word of God. Again, I'm reading the Bible for like the first time. Some scriptures I've read, some I've not, but it's just so eye-opening that something that was written so long ago is so relevant today. And really, it's called the living word for a reason. The things that I'm reading are so relevant in my life right now. I'm so thankful for that I can look back to see what things have been done or the stories that have happened and how they were done or how they weren't done, and then really learn from that experience. And then 3 is just having those, like, all right, if I'm in a funk, having that list of what are the things that get me out of the funk, and the things that I enjoy, that me time, and getting it back. So whether it's sleep or running or, going to be creative with my kids and coloring and playing with Play-Doh or whatever it is, just making sure I reinforce that and having just that, it's almost like a list in my head to make sure that it's checked off. And then, like, that's how I start to get out of the funk, because I can stay there for a very long time. All right, so Lorin, getting off of me, let's put this back on you. How did you realize your religious mindset changed you?
So I kind of walked away from church. There was like, when I separated from my husband, I kind of was like, wow, I'm not with him. He doesn't want to be with me. It's not working out. And like, I can't go to church. Like, God hates me because he hates divorce. And like, I can't do it. And so, I don't think that I was ever at a place where I was like, God doesn't exist. But I definitely was in this place for a few years where I was just like, I don't want nothing to do with you, because I did everything that I was supposed to. I was like, a good kid. I followed instructions. I wasn't out having sex or like all that stuff. And then I got married and it all like backfired. And so I kind of was like, oh, well, maybe this whole overly Jesus thing isn't for me, because I just felt like so down in the fact that I thought that I was following instructions and that like this is what I was supposed to do. So like, why is it not working? Right. So I definitely think that in those years where I wasn't like going to church and I wasn't really active in it, I started listening to other people and their perspectives and stuff like that. And so it just really made me look at my upbringing a little differently. And I just started to like question some things. And it really made me really recognize how important just getting to know who God says he is, like how important that is. And so I think that's pretty much how it changed. I stopped living this holy roller, holier than thou lifestyle of like, oh, well, if you're not doing this, or the Bible tells this, and in John, you're supposed to be holy, and a Psalms 31 woman, and It's like, what? Like, those are just words if you're not, spiritually in connection with God. So it definitely changed my perspective on religion versus relationship. And I know we don't talk about that, but like in culture, we talk about, oh, religion. And I think that religion is just a man-made word, when in reality, the whole Bible tells us to get into a relationship. So.
And then, I just remember seeing you a part of this journey, and you kind of mentioned this before, but there was like the shame that came with that reality of, I did what I was supposed to do, right? I followed the rules, I followed this religion, and now I'm divorced. Like, how did you handle that shame that came from following the rules to being divorced?
It's funny because to tell you that I'm completely over it, I'm not. Right. And this is me being very, probably too transparent. So I had just talked to my cousin about a sermon that we had heard a couple of weeks ago around divorce and what's after divorce. And so I'll say, like, honestly, the journey to not feel shame still happens every day. I think years ago, though, I did this big study, internet, Bible, asking people for their opinions just to like make myself feel okay with the fact that I had gotten a divorce. And I've kind of just settled in that, like, and I pray about it. And I'm just like, you know what? It happened and there's nothing that I can do. But I also recognize that, I serve a God that sent his son here for me to remove all of my sin. And that I feel is a sin. And now it's removed from me because Jesus paid it on the cross, right? But the shame piece for me is still something that I work on a daily basis. And I'm confident in it now. Like, I'm good. I know that when I stand before Jesus in heaven, he's going to be like, so XYZ happened. And I'm like, sure did. But, we here. And he's going to say, all right, no extra piece of gold and silver for you. Go get your little broom. And I'm going to be a sweeper in heaven. I just want to be a sweeper in heaven. That's all I'm asking for. And so that's kind of where I'm at. It's still a point for me, but I think that through just guidance in the scriptures, I've kind of come to this settling place where it's like my divorce doesn't define my relationship. Well, yeah. So, I feel like I got all of the depression questions, and Wynn is over here thriving in her best life. So Wynn, in this thrive. So how is your new marriage different from your last marriage?
Okay, that's a thriving question for sure, because literally everything is different. Like, there is no comparison whatsoever to my first marriage, to my second marriage, other than I have a husband. That is literally the only thing comparable. Alan is like polar opposite again. He loves and adores me. I love and adore him. He is the one I was supposed to be with in this life, and it's just a true bond. Like, it's just an indescribable bond. I love that man so much, and he loves me, and we just we respect each other, and we let each other do what they need to do, and it's completely opposite than marriage number one. So yeah, that's a best life question. I don't know if these other ones have been that, but this one sure is, because it is not comparable in any way, shape, or form.
That's great.
So,
I love it.
Lorin.
Told you guys are my example. I love it.
Lorin, this one's kind of a best life. All right, here's a positive. I'm feeling good about this question. All right, so you've mentioned before your friends come to you for marriage counsel. What does that look like? What would you tell someone, looking for counsel in general?
Wow. Yeah. So I think that this definitely counters my last point. So as much as being divorced sucks, and as much as I have questioned and have conversations about it with God, it's kind of like he puts these people on my doorstep to speak to. Right. I have had, I don't know, you call me about stuff. Alan will text me and be like, Lorin, help. And I'm like, what? Is Alan texting me right now? What, me? Right? Wow. And then just countless other friends that have heard my story, and they're just like, I want my marriage to work, and I feel like yours did it. So tell me what not to do. And as much as it sucks, it's such a blessing. And I think, it's important to see the joy in going through some of your struggles, because that's definitely what I love to do. People will just reach out. I've got a friend in Southern California that'll text me, and she'll be like, hey, we're going through this. I had a homegirl a couple of months ago during the holiday season. This is their first holiday season together as a couple. They were struggling on whose house they were going to spend what amount of time at. And, it got kind of heated. And so I'm sending text messages about, okay, sis, take a deep breath, maybe walk away, go drink some wine, let him have his time. He gonna need your time. You're gonna need your time. And it's just been I'm super thankful that I've gone through the trials in my last relationship to be able to use it as a guidance for others so that their marriages flourish. As much as I struggle with being divorced, and as much as I know I'm going to have the answer to it at the end of the day, I'm so grateful that God has allowed me to be in a position to have wisdom from that story to share with other people so that they're more successful than I was.
Yeah, I don't know if you see this too, Lorin, but sometimes people will reach out to me and they think I would normally oh yeah, you should absolutely get a divorce from this situation. And I'm not that person. I really do value marriage. I hate that you and I were divorced, but I would say we want it to work out. We hope that you're not cheated on. We hope that you're physically not left where they don't come back. And it really, if you have some of those things, right, you're in a safe environment, they're not left, they're not cheating on you. There's so much to get out of your marriage that sometimes people get in the moment, but we'll help you get we can be a sounding board. We can help you get out of that moment. But probably I would say like 90% of the time, we're not gonna be like, girl, you need a divorce. That's not
You said
ever
that's
probably
probably
where we start ever.
99.5% of the time. I mean,
9.
unless,
I don't think, I don't think I've ever told someone you need
no,
to get a divorce ever. So maybe it's 99.9
somebody's
just in
beating
case
on
that
you or
point
something. Yeah.
zero
Okay. So
one.
we got to get out of that. But
Probably, yeah, get out of that.
everything else we can
Get
play
out.
through. Like, we can fix it. Definitely can.
Yep.
Now, you will look
Yep.
crazy because your friends are going to be like, because society tells us to get out, but God tells us to work it out. Anyways, let me get off my religious, my preacher soapbox over here. It's your turn, Wynn. Don't get out of answering questions. We got a few more. So this one I think is important for both of us. So how do you handle your depression?
Yeah, because and I like how it's in present form, because it wasn't like, how did you handle your depression? It is something. It's still here, because we do have, like I said, those whispers, right? They're always there when you're feeling down, and those reminders you're not enough. Even too, like, you were left, you're gonna be left again. This is happening again. Like those fears, those worries, those anxieties. I've had some ebbs and flows in life, especially too, not just my marriage, but just my work life or like personal relationship life. And, I mentioned I've had some miscarriages, or I walked away from a job that I thought was, going to be secure and at least a little bit longer than it was. And I've had some really down times. And I think like the best thing that you can do in those situations is just be honest with yourself, like not fake it. You hear fake it till you make it, and that's not definitely the way to go. Just kind of honor that moment and do some self-reflection, and not when I say self-reflection, not hear the voice over and over again, but do some things that make that voice just like shush for a minute. So whether that's like reading or going on a walk or going on a run or connecting with some friends or doing something that you normally wouldn't do, just to like make that voice shush. I would say I have like this really loud voice in my head that's like the pot stirrer to my depression, when we're getting in a moment or when I'm in a moment. And just like look for those things, like have, like I said, those strongholds, whether it's sometimes it's my friends reaching out to. Sometimes I need encouragement there. Like again, to very much like reaching out to the Bible. I'm actually in counseling right now. We can talk about that another time. But I'm actually going through marriage counseling. Even though I have an amazing, perfect husband, we're not a perfect couple. We're not perfect people, and so just being honest in those moments of what's happening. And then, like I said, having those strongholds to help you get out of it. Seek help, I guess, whether it's a counselor or a friend. And then to read those encouraging things or be reminded of those encouraging things, whether it's a message or a drawing or just something that reminds you of good times have come and gone and they will come again. And then just referring back to those good times. It's just like, that's how, no matter what situation I'm in, I know there's going to be a good story out of it in the end, no matter what happens. And so knowing that end story, even when you're in that mist or storm in between, be honest, deal with it, get out of it, and just reflect on the good things to come once you do get out of it, because you won't stay there. Whew.
Wow, that's good.
All right, Lorin, since I talked about my depression, let's talk about your depression. How do you handle your depression?
For me, I think you've kind of like settled into yours a little more than I care to admit that I've not settled into mine. I don't know. I still struggle. I try to pretend like it doesn't exist. And I think that has a lot to do with the idea that I feel like I have to have control over everything. And so to have to admit out loud that I don't have control and that I get into these dark, scary places, it's hard for me. But I think I work out. If I find myself spending too much time in my room or not like having conversations with people, I try to get out, or I try to like send out a text message. I've also had some real honest conversations with the friends that I'm the closest to, so that folks know to check on me, right? I've got a homegirl out east who we do like this once a week. We put a reminder in our cell phone and we just like check in. And if I miss the reminder or she misses the reminder, you know, the other person will be like, oh, snap, like what happened to you? What's going on? Right. I've got some homegirls here in the Bay Area that I've gotten pretty close to. And if they don't hear from me for like a week or two, or if I'm not responding in the group chat, they're like, hello? You okay over there? Like, do we need to come save you? We need to take you out. So I think that for me, that's been the biggest piece, is to sit down with my folks and be like, hey, I'm not going to tell you that I'm in a bad place. So I need for you to like see the signs and to call me out and to come help me. And being vulnerable in that standpoint has helped me so much. I've also, like, I'm a black and white type of person. There's no gray for me in a lot of things. So I've also had to cut out certain things out of my life, right? So like I will drink some champagne and somewhat, like I will turn up with the best of them. But on a regular basis, I don't drink because I know that when I drink, I get into this place where I don't want to be, right? Or I don't watch certain TV shows because I know that for me, it's not going to turn out to be a good thing. And like some people and I don't listen to certain types of music because I need to be uplifted. And so if I'm filling my brain with all of this stuff that makes me question and that adds to my anger or like whatever, like I don't want to do it. And some people think that that's a bit rash and a bit extreme. And it could be for you, but it's worked for me because you're talking to somebody, like I've seen it all. I've been held up in a house, like crying my eyes out. Like I've stopped, like I don't know, like I just have been in some real situations where I probably would not have been there, or I probably wouldn't even have been here today, you know, had I not had people around me. So at this point in my life, it's like, I don't care how drastic or how extreme you think I'm being. If it adds to my well-being and it keeps me sane, that's what I'm going to do. But I'm not afraid to admit that I still struggle with accepting the fact that I have depression. And I mean, I've been to counseling and I've had a therapist. I have one on speed dial right now. Just because, like I said, California has done some things to me. But, you know, I think the biggest piece is being vulnerable and finding a team of people that will accept you and not judge you and not hold things over your head and just be real with you to get you through it. Yeah.
Yep, agreed. We'll get through it
together.
Yeah, we are.
All right, Wynn, next question.
Let's do it.
So you've struggled with saying yes to many people and over allocating yourself. How do you say no now?
You funny because I don't.
Yeah, I kind of knew that answer before I asked it, but.
Ask Alan. You know what? Alan should be on this show at some point, like the truth behind Wynn, the things that Wynn, Alan sees my ugly side. He is obviously, my go-to person to deal with things, and he'll tell you, and I know I'm just going to respond in how Alan would say that I don't really say no. I've gotten a little bit better, but man, I have a long ways to go. I think I mentioned I am a number 2 on the Enneagram. And so I do a lot of self-sacrificing things. Like it's just my nature. It's just my nature to say yes. Like I don't even have to put a lot of thought into it. But I'm so thankful for Alan because he's a no person. I would say Lorin is a no person. Have those people in your life that help you say no or give you the stink eye when you're like, guess what I'm doing? And they're like,
or tell you I'm not helping you. Wynn will be like, oh, Lorin, I told so-and-so I would do this. Don't you want to? I'm not helping you do that. And next time, don't say that you will do that because you're not going to get no help.
Yeah, so look for those people who don't enable you. There's, obviously, when I say I've gotten better, there are some things that I say no to because again, I'm a list person. And so I think about what are the most important things in my life. And so obviously it's my relationship with God. It's my family and my marriage. And it's really that feeling of being enough. And knowing that I'm enough, not feeling, but just knowing like who I am in Christ, that what I'm being asked to do doesn't fit in that box, I will attempt to, but not always say no. it's very hard for me to say no. Like, you know, I've seen no is a statement, period. Like, there's no other words that you have to add. Again, I do bend over backwards, or I'll say no, but again, I love a statement of but. You know, I'll do something else. You know, through the years, I've been taken advantage of. I put myself in situations that I've been taken advantage of. No is not always, I would say, my first response. It's probably my favorite response to do. Have those people in your life that keep you grounded, because you can't do life alone. Life was not meant to do alone. I think too that's why so many people are having a hard time with this coronavirus, because some things we're having to do alone. Have those people who check up on you, like Lorin mentioned, those people that recognize the signs, and having the, like I said, list in your head of things that, wait a minute, did I just overextend myself? Because this reminds me of the time that I did. So again, it's a journey in me saying no. It's not something I always say, but I'm at a place where asking myself more questions before I just jump into something, even though it might be a great idea, even though it would be the coolest story ever to do. If it doesn't relate back to those 3 or 4 things that are in my box right now, I'm just not interested in doing it. And even though I might cry about it or get mad about it or just like whatever, I'm so thankful for those people who remind me what's in my box, and that I just really hold on to that.
I love that. Boxes. If it doesn't fit in the core of who you are and what you've got going on,
bye.
Say no.
All right. Whew, Lorin, we're winding down here. Let's end with you, girlfriend. How are you dealing with ensuring your past trauma isn't affecting your decisions today?
Wow. I feel like I got all the hard questions.
You did. Hey, this is a little plug for those who have more questions. Please respond on our Instagram, send us an email.
Wow, thanks for buying me some time there. Yeah, so I think that I have put in place strategies, and I don't get it right. I probably get it wrong more times than I get it right. And I'm so thankful for grace. So one, I think that I reevaluated the people in my circle, right? And I think I had to rely on Wynn and a few other friends to say, okay, Lorin, we saw you at your worst, and this is going down that path. Like, I remember dating this guy that I thought I was like gonna really like. And when I started telling Wynn and another friend about him, they were like, this sounds like what you just got out of, girl. So, you know, that whole thing about being transparent and having conversation. But I think trauma also has to be healed. And in order to heal trauma, you've got to think through, like, have some reflection on what caused it. Right? Like, what was my mindset? Or like, what did I think I was gonna get that led to me getting something different? And so I've spent some time, you know, like Wynn said, solitude, right? I love my room. I love being alone. I love driving. So when I'm on the road or when I'm chilling in my room or whatever, like, I will spend some time, allocate some time to reflect and say, okay, I'm hurt because of XYZ. All right, let's unpack that. Why did that hurt me? And what feelings, like, what am I avoiding, or what things make me feel this way, so that I know how to handle things in the future. I don't always speak nicely to people, right? I have a very bad habit, and I'm getting better, but I have a very bad habit of like not covering.
She's doing okay, everyone. Just okay. Keep going.
Not covering things with like some oil or like some flavor. Like, I just be giving it to folks raw. And that works for me, but that don't work for everybody. And so I've had to ask myself, like, okay, Lorin, what are you really trying to convey to that person? And how can you say it in a way that they're going to be receptive? Right. And so now, you know, I tell people, hey, if you don't get a response from me immediately, it's because I'm thinking of like what to say. So don't think, oh, I'm shut down or I'm not trying to talk to you. I'm just processing, and I'm taking a little bit more time so that I can be strategic in how I say things. Now, I'm not being fake, because I'm still giving it real. I'm just presenting it in a way that's more manageable for folks. Right. And that comes with just doing it wrong and seeing how people react. And it's never my intention to be hurtful, but sometimes it happens. And so you have to be willing to say, okay, well, if I'm hurting someone else, like I need to reflect and figure out why. And then you start to see that it's because you were hurt, like, and somebody said something to me, or like maybe things were presented to me that way. And so I think that to get revenge, I got to present it that way, right? Trauma is like a web of circles, and it's literally a spider's web, and you get trapped in it. And so sometimes you got to start pulling apart the pieces to that web, and just really wash it off with some water. You know what happens with spider webs? When you pour water on it, they disappear, right? And that's what you got to do. And therapy, friends, definitely spiritual growth. I think everything that I've gone through or I'm going through, there's a reference to it in the Bible, or there is an example, right? I tell myself at this point in my life, it's like I'm trying to live my life the way Jesus lived his life. And the entire book of John covers the way Jesus talked to people. And I'm not there. I'm never going to be there, because Jesus has so much patience. I don't have patience. He'd be like, who was Thomas in the Bible was like, why, Lord? Where are you going? We don't know where you're going. We can't come with you. And it's like, for the last 17 chapters, I've been telling you where I'm going. Were you not listening? No. And he's just like, Thomas, I'm going to prepare a place. It's like, Lord, you said that, right? So I'm not there, and I don't think that's where I'm gonna get to. But it is my hope that if I think about it in that standpoint, like, okay, how would Jesus handle it? I can get better. And again, I get it wrong more times than I get it right. So for all y'all that are like, oh my God, Lorin is I'm not sugarcoating. I'm being honest. Y'all know I'm being honest. I do try. I'll be trying. And I think, and when you can speak, I think I'm a completely different person than I was 10 years ago. Like, I be saying,
I hope we're different. I hope we're different than 10 years ago. Holy smokes.
Woo, holy smokes. But yeah, so that's kind of how I'm handling my trauma. It's like I've seen how trauma, Lorin, impacts the world. And that's not the legacy I want to leave. And so I use that as my base. And I say, all right, how can we do things differently today? And that's all we can do, is take it a day at a time and, listen to the feedback, as much as it may hurt, because my friends sometimes, oh, well, you hurt my all right. They say stuff and you're like, that cut me. But I take it, and, sometimes I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to talk to you anymore right now. And I go away for a week, and then I'll come back and I'm like, you know what? You were right. And I apologize, or I'm going to do better, and let's move forward. And that's what it's about. Again, it's looking inward, 1, 2, building a community around you of people that really have your best interest at heart. And then 3, like digging into your spiritual relationship. Like that's how I'm tackling it.
On this episode, we've talked about different areas of our lives, whether divorce or being left, or new marriages, new relationships, depression. These are some really heavy hitting things, but something that's really jumping out to me is that a lot of the way that we respond to them, or the way that we hope to respond, or how we get to the place where we're ready to respond in the way that we should, a lot of them are very much the same. Like you said, that community, recognizing the signs, relying on God's word. I think we've said that on almost every response that we've had. And so if you're listening and you're in a place of you don't know what to do, you feel so unique in your situation, or you don't, how to take that next step, probably take away some of the things that we mentioned today, because we haven't always been here to be able to do that. These are just some things that we've learned over the last decade, or really through our lives. We hope that, as we take chances together, that we will explore these options and really grow in them. They are very generalized, but there's so many possibilities in them. We just hope that we'll just continue to take chances together, be real with you in this moment. Life is messy and it's not a straight path, but we're going to try to walk as straight as we can together, and really just arm in arm. So thank you for listening again. This is episode 3. We're really excited to continue this journey with you. These questions, I don't know about you, Lorin, have been hard to answer, has caused some reflection of pause. I ate almost a whole bag of M&Ms at this point.
I think Wynn has said it all. I will just say, join us next week as we bring on a special guest. Hannah's going to join us. We haven't talked about it yet, but we have this group called First Wives Club, our little group that we've joined together. And he'll more about that next week, but Hannah's going to join us, and hopefully we'll go down memory lane with her with some fun things that we've done together in community to kind of grow together the last 5-6 years.
Tune in next Thursday for our next podcast, and we'll see you then.